My name is Naz Dilliwal. I'm a digital workplace specialist for O2. So to me, making mobile further is expanding the scope of mobile beyond just voice and text. It's taking technology to be able to do more with your mobile infrastructure. It's about enabling outcomes which will enable the business to be more productive and employees to be more engaged. And taking into account other areas where mobile can be used to be more productive, working with partners like Samsung to look at devices from a holistic solution perspective. So our latest research shows that 76% of people surveyed would like to work from a position that's more flexible. And that means more than just either working from home or working from the office. It could be working from anywhere. I think connectivity is absolutely a key driver for this. So making sure you're partnering with a network provider that has an award-winning network, but also looking at the technology that's going to be used to enable some of these things to happen. One of the key things and key challenges a lot of organizations has faced is around how do we make that presence feel like you're in the room. Typically when you've worked in an office, you're in front of people, you've got face-to-face interaction, and that's great. But being able to provide that presence, making sure that people have got video conferencing facilities is absolutely a must from that perspective. So being able to talk, being able to view content, being able to share content and work on things collaboratively is absolutely key. And making sure that technology is in place is probably the biggest challenges that organizations are going to face. So just talking around video conferencing, another interesting statistic is that 45% of people feel that they don't have the right video conferencing facilities available to them, which I find quite shocking. To be able to do video conferencing, yes, you need a combination of tools to be able to do it. But if you look at what's out there and what people are using, mobile phones come with a camera and the ability to use voice recordings. So if your people are equipped with a basic minimum of a mobile phone with a camera, then video conferencing becomes something that is readily available. Beyond the actual hardware itself, there's going to be the software layer, and we've seen a real resurgence in Teams, in solutions like Teams and Zoom, which allow you to carry on and provide that video conferencing facility moving forward. So ensuring that those things are available are going to be absolute key. I think what we have noticed is that these things have been in place for a number of years. However, the last 12 months, we've seen the reliance on it being a lot more prevalent, and it's going to be something that's going to be used more and more moving forward. So one of the considerations that organizations need to be wary of when working in a flexible model is you are losing a layer of security, and that security is the office. So typically when you are an office worker, you have a pass that you scan to get into the office, and that is a form of security. That's now gone, right? Because you're not necessarily always going to be in the office. You could be in a cafe, you could be working from home, you could be working from a park bench, you could be anywhere. So making sure that the security is looked at in a manner that isn't restrictive is absolutely important. So one of the considerations is how do I secure a device that could be used anywhere? How do I stop people overlooking data that's being processed? How do I ensure that if a device is out there using a foreign network or a Wi-Fi network that isn't a corporate Wi-Fi network, how do I ensure that level of security is there without being too cumbersome? One of the examples that I always give is look at things like contextual security. So if I'm a user that is going to be coming into the office and I've used my pass to get into the office, that's one form of security done. I use my mobile on my device, and do I need to put in a separate password for a VPN connection? No. Do I need to use a separate password for the Wi-Fi connection? Probably not. But if I then go and work from a cafe and I'm coming in over a private network, then actually, let me have a think about that. So it's a device that's coming in a network that I'm not familiar with. Maybe I need to apply something like two-factor authentication, which I wouldn't need if you were working off a trusted location. And it's these different ways of addressing security that aren't always going to be cumbersome, because if someone is coming into the office, do you really want to burden them with two-factor authentication? Probably not, because they've got into the office, right? So they've used one form of authentication already, which is one factor. But if they're not coming into the office and they're working for somewhere else, actually it probably makes sense to apply that just to give you that additional level of security. And what we have here is a great bridge between security and user experience, which adapts contextually and gives a whole new way of looking at security in the modern world. So what we talked about there was looking at the devices and mobility from a security perspective, a software layer, but it's also great to look at actually things from a hardware perspective. These devices are now going to be moving around more. There's more potential for them to be dropped or damaged, etc. So look at devices that actually offer you a level of ruggedization out of the box. And when I talk about rugged, I don't mean these big, thick, ugly, heavy barcode scanner type devices that your delivery driver probably brings in to scan a device with. We're talking about some of the new ranges, and if you look at the things that Samsung have bought out with the Xcover Pro range, these are pretty good looking devices. You wouldn't be able to distinguish it from a normal standard smartphone, but they come with extra ruggedization. So if you drop it, it's typically not going to break in the same way as a device without any protection would. So consider that as well as the actual software security itself. It's the hardware security and the level of stability that they have in these new different environments. Also, from our latest research, we uncovered that there are a number of different personas that people tie themselves to when it comes to working and being able to do their work. That's a combination of office cravers, mixers, and home dwellers. So office cravers typically are people that want to be able to come into the office and be able to complete their work from within an office itself, and it kind of lends itself into two key areas. Typically you'll find people that are starting a new career within an organization or even moving to a new role will crave that learning that you get from within the office and want to be in there and learn through that whole thing around learning through osmosis, etc., and be able to pick up new ways of working. And typically the other type of scenario is normally senior stakeholders, so more of a command and control type persona, where actually we want to be able to work with our teams and work closely with our teams and our subordinates moving forward itself. So moving forward, organizations need to look at how that's going to work out and what technology is needed to enable that to happen. Could you get away with just one device that could turn itself into a laptop type scenario, or actually do we need to look at ways different technology that needs to work together to make that happen? The other use case as well is mixers, so that's a combination of nomads and socializers. So nomads and socializers, typically I associate them with sales type folks, so typically don't have a fixed mode of working. They could be working within their car, within a car park, or could be working from a cafe shop or anywhere else. And these guys need to be able to use technology to get things done and process data pretty quickly, and typically going to be the knowledge worker type use case themselves. And the third one is home dwellers, right? So these are people that have quite demanding personal lives and need to be able to use that flexibility to balance both the work and personal side themselves. And it's not just people that with families that have family commitments. It could be people that are pre-drawn into things like hobbies, etc. So cutting out that commute. If you've got an hour commute at the end of the day and at the beginning of the day, that's 2 hours that you can cut out and help concentrate on something else, rather than be driving or on a train trying to get into the office. If you can do all that stuff from without getting into the office, then use that 2 hours to do something else. That could be working on a hobby, it could be going out running, it could be going to the gym, it could be doing a number of things that helps you stay refreshed, helps you with your mental well-being, helps you with your digital wellness, and ultimately allows you to be more productive when you do get working again. It gives you that natural break, so you're refreshed and you've got a new take on things. So over the 12 months, we've been working with a number of organizations, and a lot of the organizations I've personally been working with don't have one particular type of persona that makes up that organization. Okay, we'll have a group of people that consider themselves as mixers or knowledge workers, and we'll have some group of people that actually need to be working within a specific environment, and it could be an extreme environment that requires certain equipment and certain types of ways of working. And our role in this has been able to understand what those personas are, what those needs are, what does person A need to be able to do that person B doesn't need to be able to do, and how do we design a solution that can cater for all of these. And the key thing is to take complexity out of it, right? So there's two things here. We're trying to remove complexity for the end user so they can just pick up this technology and start using it. But we also don't want to do is burden the IT team with that complexity now, because if we're making it easier for the end user, it's going to get harder for someone else. And what we want to do ultimately is not make it hard for anyone, just make it simple to use. And there's been a couple of examples where we've looked at platforms that can cater to be able to do all of these things. So you've got a single solution here that can go and manage all these devices, but managing each one in a very individual way that provides benefits for each one of those different use cases. So it could be we could give a knowledge worker type device, like for example an S20 to the knowledge workers within the organization, who are a combination of mixers, for example, right? So they want to be able to, on nomads, who want to be able to work from home or any location, but also go into the office, and that will help them. That device will go and help them deliver whatever they need to do from that perspective. But there's also going to be a group of people that work within a very specific environment, and that could be classed as maybe a frontline environment, where actually it could be classed as an extreme environment. Therefore, they need a device that can work in those type of environments where rugged comes in. But ultimately, we've got a solution here that can actually do that for you and do that for you, and remove the complexity, not only from getting these devices out of the box and up and running, but also remove the complexity and burden involved in managing these things from an in-life perspective. So one of the key things around working flexibility is connectivity. Video is the future, right? We're doing this thing today. It's a webinar, it's a video webinar, and that is going to be the future. It's been around for a number of years. People have shied away from it, but it's absolutely part and parcel of what the future holds, and being able to stream video content quickly is going to be absolute key in that area itself. So we are seeing a lot more reliance on cloud computing. So a lot of organizations that we have been working for have gone through or are beginning to go through or are partway through the migration from on-premise to cloud. A lot of that's been driven by the Microsoft ecosystem. You know, Microsoft's philosophy is cloud first. They've invested massively in the Microsoft 365 ecosystem itself. You know, why are organizations still trying to put servers and, you know, water and feed servers on premise when actually you can move away the pain around some of that stuff? So this movement to cloud services means that you're going to need to have a device that can connect very quickly, has that support for connectivity itself, but, you know, it then allows the device to become a productivity hub. You know, it's more than just something that you make a phone call with, send a text message to, use a WhatsApp for. It's actually I've got a device here with some real good screen real estate. I could actually put together a Word document on here, which is hosted up in the cloud because the connectivity is there. That means I can do that anywhere. Don't have to be plugged into a Wi-Fi network to be able to achieve that. And because it's in the cloud, I can get it anywhere that I've got connectivity as well, right? And, you know, there's an option to have a local copy as well if you want to save a local copy if you think you're going to be working in a tunnel or something. But, you know, the options are there, right? So and this is what makes mobile go further. You know, it's this whole ecosystem. It's like, yeah, you've got a device that has so much processing power, so much, you know, so much behind it. It's probably more powerful than most PCs from a couple of years ago, but it allows you to do a hell of a lot more. So cloud computing is great, but herein lies the challenge, right? So now you've got a device that is in the hand of your users that can be used to access data and work on data. So there's a couple of challenges here. First of all is, how do we get that device up and running? How do we make it easy for the end user to be able to take that device out of the box and it just works? Secondly is, how do we then secure the information on that device? Because it's not going to be always in the hands of someone who's going to be in the office. It's going to be anywhere. You know, if that device gets left on a train, or if it gets left in a cafe, how do we know the data on that device is protected? And, you know, that's where working with a partner that understands this end-to-end journey and life cycle of a device, not only from an onboarding, but from a security perspective, is really important. And, you know, Samsung have got a real good product set, which is quite unique, called the Samsung Knox Security Suite, or the Knox Suite itself, which caters for all of these different scenarios, right? So they understand that actually, first and foremost is, if we don't enable the user to get this device running out of the box, they're not going to adopt it, right? If they're not going to adopt it, it's going to probably end itself in a drawer, like a calculator that's not been used for a number of years, and they'll just start using what they want to use, right? So you've really lost it there. So let's get them using it from day one, and let's make it really easy so they actually can use it. And once it's in use, then how do we then make sure that we're not hampering the usage by layering tons and tons and tons of intrusive security on board? How do we produce a system or a device or an ecosystem that's secured ground up? That's it. The security is invisible to the end user, but it's there, and it's visible to the IT admin because they know it's there, and they can call upon that security to do whatever they need to do to secure that device. And, you know, working with the guys at Samsung, you know, it's very evident that they've thought about this end to end. So it's, you know, getting it out of the box, make sure it's working okay, secure it in life, but then looking at the future as well, right? Because these things are moving so quickly, right? You know, it's not been long since the first smartphone came out, and if you look at the smartphone that came out then to smartphones that are out now, right? I mean, there's devices out there that fold in half. It's moved on massively. So being future-proof is absolutely key. And again, the guys at Samsung have thought about this. You know, one of the key challenges that's always been around the mobility space is, how do I keep a device up to date? How do I ensure a device has got the latest and greatest security patches on it without putting that burden on the end user? Because you shouldn't put it on the end user, right? You know, if you think of it, the analogy in a car sense, because I love cars, you know, if I get a company car, then the company car is looked after by the leasing company, right, that my company uses. So, you know, if I get a blowout, they'll put a new tire on it. If it needs to go in for an update or a maintenance update, or in the case of electric car, a software update, I just take it in and it takes care of. Why am I, as an organization, telling the end user to update device? It shouldn't work like that. And Samsung thought about this and said, actually, let's put something in place here. I think they call it ePhoto 1, Enterprise Firmware Over the Air, it stands for, and it allows an IT admin to take control and provide those updates and make sure they happen seamlessly in the background. So peace of mind that actually the device's fleet, your device's fleet, is up to date and your security is in check. But secondly, they're protecting the end user as well, to say, actually, if you're using that device and you've got your own information on it, we're protecting you as well. And these things all need to be thought about, and even so more in the future, where actually flexibility is going to be key, and there's going to be more and more reliance on mobile technology. One thing to also be wary of that is, you are going to have a varying range of skills when it comes to technologies in organizations. You're going to have people that are joining the organization that have grown up with this stuff, right, and love it and get it and can just get on with it. You're going to have people that probably aren't so au fait with it, and that's not because they don't understand technology, don't get it. They may be in a role that doesn't use technology a lot, right? So you could be a knowledge worker that's an accountant or a solicitor. Technology isn't your day-to-day thing, right? Looking through documentation and crunching numbers is, I can't do it, but they can. But I can do technology. My role in this is to help you understand technology and make it easy for you. So again, working with a partner that can help make these things easier are going to be absolutely important. So O2 have launched device as a service, and there's some clear benefits in this. I'll talk about a couple of the key ones. Number one is obviously the financial impact. It's a device that you're going to be leasing out, and you can break down the payments and understand the total cost of ownership and what that financial commitment looks like over a period of time. The other side of it is what it means to the end user and the organization from a use perspective. So the whole idea here is to get a device out of the box, get it up and running very, very quickly, and enable your end users to be more productive. If we think of technology historically, it's always been a clunky process. So if you think of the world of Windows, for example, typically it's been, you have to build an image specific to your OEM platform, and that can take a number of days, it can take a number of hours, it's quite expensive, it's quite clunky. The world of mobility is different, right? These things are designed to light up very, very quickly, and it's all around taking that burden off the IT administrator and allowing them to light up services quickly for their end user. Which is what it's all about, right? We want to make sure that the technology of the future is easy to work, not only from an end user perspective, but from a setup and configuration perspective as well. So that's the other key driver around it. But it's not just mobility that's done this. Mobility has been designed to do this from the outset. It's the way it's been designed. It's the way it's been envisioned. But if you think of laptops, if you think of the Windows operating system, Microsoft have gone down this route as well with Windows 10. So Windows 10 was designed as a mobile operating system, or designed with the underpinnings of a mobile operating system, which means you can manage that cloud first as well. So it then automatically falls within the remit of device as a service, because actually if I can manage it through a cloud and I can configure it on the fly in the same way that I can configure a mobile device depending on the use case and scenarios, then actually that's great as well, and we can do that. And we know Samsung are obviously doing some stuff within the Windows space as well, which will pay leverage to that as well. So there's a whole shift in working. Nobody wants to wait around anymore. Like I keep saying, the pace of change, everybody wants everything now, immediate gratification. If it wasn't for that, we wouldn't have Amazon Prime. Everybody wants everything now, and technology lends itself and to be able to do it. But again, for things to happen now, you need a good connectivity network. We're here to talk about cellular connectivity, but it's like anything, right? For me to get from Leeds to London, if I'm driving, I need a great way of getting there quickly. Is that the train network? Is that the motorway network? We won't get into that debate, but you know what I mean? It's the thing that brings it all together. So how much further can mobile go? I think the possibilities are endless. A lot of it does rely on what's available in the underlying infrastructure and connectivity. But as we've seen in the last 10 years, it's grown exponentially to the point where it's now, a lot of organizations are leading on mobile first. A lot of technology that's being built is mobile first. So when looking at investing in technology to enable digital workplace, consider mobile first, and ensure that you are building things that will allow your employees to be flexible and be agile. We've seen what's happened in the last 12 months. Mobility has been a key part of enabling the country to move forward, the world to move forward essentially. So carry on concentrating on making sure that mobile is central to any strategy moving forward. So at this moment in time, there's probably a lot of uncertainty out there around what the future holds. But one thing is for certain, and that is mobility is here to stay and will drive productivity moving forward.